Okay, welcome back to the Nekkid Spoon. My husband has been hounding me today to make peanut butter cookies. They're his favorite, but this is a new recipe, so we'll find out together if it works. This is what you're going to need. This is a cup of peanut butter. We use Jif. This is a cup of unsalted butter. Make sure it is unsalted. You can buy these pretty cheap in the refrigerated section. Just make sure it says unsalted. 2 eggs, 2 large eggs. Vanilla extract, not imitation vanilla. You want to make sure this is very flavorful. It's very sweet. It's very good. This is just regular sugar. This is 1 cup of sugar. The recipe called for 1 1/3 cup, but I'm not going to coat it in sugar. I'm just going to mix it in. So I eliminated the extra sugar. And this is 3/4 cup brown sugar. This is unbleached flour. I always use unbleached. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I don't want my flour bleached. A teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of baking soda. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And the reason why I have an extra bowl here is because you never want to throw ingredients into flour because it's going to make a big mess. So I'm going to mix these. So all the dry ingredients are together, then I'll start putting the wet ingredients together, and then I'll mix them together. You never want to do wet and dry, wet and dry. You want to do all dry, all wet, and then mix them all together, and that's just basic baking. So let's go ahead and begin. And by the way, I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Okay, so I mixed the dry ingredients and I also added the brown sugar. The brown sugar needs to be moist. If you have hard brown sugar, it's going to have clumps of hard and it's not going to mix well. So I could have mixed all the white and then added the brown sugar and then added the rest of the flour, but I just decided to mix it all together this way. And so I'm going to mix all my wet ingredients, which, yes, peanut butter is considered a wet ingredient. And of course, since these are peanut butter cookies, the peanut butter is the most important part. I'm using Jif, but you can use any peanut butter, and you can really use chunky or smooth. I just prefer smooth for my cookies. The butter is at room temperature, and that's just so it's easy to mix. I'm using a hand mixer. You can also use like a KitchenAid mixer. I actually have one of those too. This is just my new toy, so that's why I'm using it now. I mix all my wet ingredients. Just gonna get it from not sticking on the sides because we want it all to incorporate. Now I'm gonna add my sugar. What makes it a cookie, really? And now I'm gonna mix that. Okay. I'm sticking everything from the sides. Okay, I'm going to slowly add my flour. Mainly because that's what you're supposed to do in it, so it won't make a mess, but also because this is a lot of flour, and since this is a recipe I'm just trying out, I want to be cautious. I don't want to overdo it. But this is what it should look like right now. I'm sorry if you can hear my kids playing in the background. Really, in like a KitchenAid, you would actually do dry and then add wet, but I'm using a hand mixer, which is why I'm doing it the other way around. And that's it. So now we're going to start putting it on a cookie tray to bake. Make sure your oven is preheated to 375. Okay, so I have just a regular cooking tray, and this is a silicone mat. This makes it so I don't have to spray the mat down so the cookies won't stick. I really recommend getting these. These eliminate the need for cooking sprays, and it's really easy to get stuff off of them. So if you cook something, you can just lift it when it's cooled down and take it right off. Stuff like caramel and stuff like that. So these are really good additions to the kitchen. My husband got these for me, which is why I'm using them. So you're going to grab your dough, round them out, but don't have it in your hands for a really long time, because then the butter starts to melt and then it'll flatten in the oven. You want it pretty chilled. You're going to place them about 1 inch apart. So if you want, you can stagger them a little bit, so because they are going to spread out a little bit. You take a fork, you smush it down just a little bit, and do the traditional crosshairs. The rest of my dough that's waiting to be baked, I'll kind of mush it all together, and then I'll put it in the fridge to keep cool. I don't want to leave it out because otherwise the next batch will flatten, and I don't want that. Okay, and then also, after these are done baking, when you first bring them out, you want to remove them from the tray so they don't burn on the bottom. They're going to go in for about 10 to 15 minutes. If you have Hershey's Kisses, while they're still fluffy, fresh out of the oven, you just stick one right on top. Those are like a holiday style cookie, but it has to be right when they come out, otherwise they're going to become hard cookies, and you're not going to be able to smush it into the cookie. So make sure that if you want the Hershey's Kiss on top, that when you bring it right out of the oven, you put it off of the tray onto a cooling rack, and then place the Hershey Kiss on top. So we're going to go ahead and put these in the oven. Okay, so this is the finished product. I just took it right out of the oven and right onto the rack. This is definitely a recipe for cookies and not really geared towards the chocolate, but it still worked out perfectly, and I hope you enjoy your cookies. Also, if you have any leftover dough, you can just put it right in the fridge and save it for a later time.